Call this meeting to order. This is the Morgantown City Council Committee of the Whole meeting, Tuesday, July 29th. The time is 7:01 p.m. As a note, Committee of the Whole meetings of Morgantown City Council are intended to provide an opportunity for council to receive information, ask questions, and identify policy options in an informal setting, and no official action will be taken at this meeting. The following matters are scheduled. We say no presentations. We will, I guess, save that presentation on the paving list for when we're discussing. So we will move right into our public portion. Is there any member of the public wishing to speak? If you wish to come to the podium and state your name and address, and you have 4 moments.
Should I also sign this?
That's okay.
You can put it on there. Okay. That helps the clerk.
Hi, my name's Hillary Woodrum. I'm a resident of Pennsylvania Avenue. That's why I'm here, is to kind of advocate that my street gets repaved this year. It was slotted for last year. Thanks to MUB fixing our water lines, but the street is still like very bumpy and, you know, poorly patched. So that's really like all we're here to do, and have some other neighbors here representing our street, and yeah, that's what we're here to do.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Like what she said? Got it. All right. We will move into our items for discussion, the first of which happens to be the 2025 paving list. I believe we have Director of Engineering and Public Works, Damian Davis, to present.
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm going to turn it over to Drew. He's done all the work on it, so I'm going to let him talk. Thanks.
Mr. Gatlin.
I always thank you all so much for having me, and lovely to see you all, this new council. I hope you're settling in well. I always say that I'm surprised that the majority of my professional career is laying down asphalt, but you know, here it is. We are in late July, of course, and so we are slightly behind where we typically are for this year. Definitely want to just get out there and be, you know, flat with that. But I don't think that we are in a bad position with the paving project. We have extended our paving season several times in years past, paved pretty much until the asphalt plant's closed, and so I think it actually helps us to be competitive in this growing region. Everybody's paving more and more. So here we go. You might want to know about how we choose what to pave, particularly for some of the folks that haven't heard this before. Essentially, we are trying to not run out of money, more or less, right? And so when you're talking about a complex system of assets that you're trying to manage, right, you can generally put in a little bit of preventive maintenance, right, or a little bit of inputs and money into a pavement. And you can do that several times throughout its life cycle, and that will help you to avoid a massive, you know, reconstruction or rehabilitation cost for longer, right? So generally cost efficient. It also, you know, helps us to minimize traffic disruptions and all other kinds of things, right? Give us opportunities to do other stuff. So really trying to be cost effective. Also, of course, trying to meet citizen requests. We've got a lot more, many more streets than we have money to pave, of course, in any given year. At one point when our user fee dollars were going the extra mile, so to speak, we were on what I thought was a 10-year cycle. We are now not anymore on a 10-year cycle, so it's always this jockeying, right? We need more money to keep up with the pavement condition as it is. Our initial findings from the most recent 2024 assessment, 2025 assessment, we're still finalizing that, but suggested that we needed up to $4 to $5 million a year just to maintain the current condition of city streets. I'm pushing back a little bit on that, but just want to be, honest about what those findings were. So, things that we do when we pave, it's not just laying down asphalt, it is upgrading water lines sometimes, right? We try to coordinate with MUB. That's a lot of also what drives our decisions is if we hear that our utility partners, the utility board, of course, but also the gas companies and Underground Electric and whatnot, if they've got big capital projects they're planning, we don't want them to do that right after we've paved. But we also upgrade ADA curb ramps, right? And we can change the streets and how it feels and accommodate maybe different users, right, through these projects. So you all were provided last night or this morning some maps about our current candidates, and I even gave you an interactive map, which we're going to go click through here, and I'm going to show you how I use it and view it. But before we do that, right, many people are interested in how the road feels, right, or what the roadway, the condition it's in. That certainly helps us to make the good decisions about when to put in the preemptive maintenance. This provides some context for the scores that you might click through and see in this online map, right? So a pavement that is anywhere above like a 56 in a standard pavement condition index, right, is going to be a pretty fine pavement to drive on. When we get below that, the very poor, we will start to notice, we'll start to get some citizen complaints for sure. So I've essentially in this map here, which we'll see, nice, very good. Got 2 copies of it. Yeah. I don't have a, oh, here we go. Screen that. So we have the scores, and then also it should be the pavement age as well, symbolized. So I think probably a lot of the comments that I have received over the years and that maybe you all receive on a pretty frequent basis is my street has not been paved in 20 years or 40 years or whatever, right? However long I've lived here, I would like to see it paved, So there is some expectation of regularity to this. These variables, right, the pavement age and the pavement condition index, right, the score, the structural score you might say, or the experience score, they're 2 slightly different things, they're related. The age and the condition are not exactly directly related. And you can certainly see that when you cycle through these two copies of essentially the same data. And so just want to, to highlight that. This is pretty tough here.
When's are you paved?
Do what? We did.
That one you paved
We did, yes.
recently.
Not sure if this will be super useful here. If I can get closer to, there we go. Yeah. I can take the microphone with me. Very good. Okay, so we can just swap this back on and off. I encourage you all to do this to just see the different variables. You can, if you're familiar with this platform, this should be open to you. You should be able to just, you don't have to sign in or anything. Click around, mess around with it. You can change the symbology of the lines and look at a variety of information on your own if you are so inclined.
So does it have condition and Age?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at the attribute table here, right? So we've got the segment. We break these down essentially intersection to intersection, and there are almost 2,000 of them in this particular data set. It includes some state-owned roads and maintained roads in the city of Morgantown. That was one thing that's different about this most recent pavement assessment, is we decided to go ahead and assess the state roads, even if we don't want to take them over or anything like that. We do want to see how they're doing and compare them on the same methodology. And they're actually in fine shape in some ways. We have a functional class. This is a bit of a moving target, right? So we might have streets that serve different types of things at different points of the day, right? So like Chestnut Street looks different at 2 a.m. Than it does at 8 a.m., right? And then of course we have streets that change their class and the behavior from during the times of year, right? Certainly streets where schools exist on, and then of course over time. But this is our consultants' sort of understanding of what the class is here, and then essentially just a projected average annual daily traffic, right, on that type of class. This is not an actual measured traffic number for an individual segment, but something that's just related to that functional class. Here you'll see two different types or two different fields that's outlining the essentially the surface and the structural type of the pavements. These will ultimately be combined into one. This is still somewhat preliminary with some of these detailed attributes. But yeah, just for your reference, AC means asphalt, concrete. PCC means Portland cement concrete. And then APC means asphalt over Portland cement, right? So a composite pavement, right? We have a lot of those around here. You'll see others.
Cracks.
BR, you might guess, is brick. ABR, asphalt over brick. You kind of get the idea here. And we've got some gravels and some grasses and some other types of surfaces here as well. You'll see, of course, this PCI score. One thing to note, and I tried to be explicit here, is that this condition was gathered in February of 2024, so before our 2024 paving project, which paved a lot of streets. We're paving almost always more than 5 miles of streets every year these years. This current project, we're proposing 6.5, almost 7 miles of street. And yeah, so essentially, I want you to be conscious of these PCI scores. And for example, all of these poor scores over here on Harding and Oakland and some of these streets, or this is age, or I guess this is the condition. So the age, I did spend a lot of hours recently just making sure that we had all of our work records, and I even went through and did as best I could at tracking all the work records of the state on all of the roads. And so the age in this data set should be good. You should be able to tell the last time we actually paved. Anything that's tagged with 1969, you will see here, pretty much as we don't have data on it. And there's a lot of things. You'll see, we'll pull up a chart. But, we don't know the last time we attached or worked on that road. So Yeah. Any questions right now? I can zoom in to different areas that we have proposed on this list. Comments, concerns?
Did you say this was sent to us?
Right.
I don't feel like I've seen
Yeah,
this.
I
got
was-
maps today, but not an interactive.
They were
map.
not in, right.
I said that,
Forward to the email or? Okay.
We got PDFs,
Okay. Yeah.
but this is cool.
Cool. Yeah, so, yeah, happy to give you all access to this. And, yeah, let you zoom into your heart's content. You know, we've got some up here in like the North Hills area. You'll see anything that's blue here, and I tried to use a colorblind friendly color scheme. Always trying to do okay, you know, good for accessibility. I know that everybody, you know, we've all got different details to ourselves. But yes, the blue here is streets that have been paved since 2011, so 15 years old. I would say reasonable in terms of and age, and then things that are getting a little bit long in the tooth, right? 25-ish years old. 2001 is going to be yellow, and then everything before that, including those streets that we don't really have a lot of good data on, is red here. So the black colored streets here, right? These are the current proposed list, and they include everything that we are proposing to be in this particular contract. They do not include North Street, which is currently under construction, and several other streets which are, you know, have their own project.
I have a question.
Yes.
What about North High Street? So you have North Street and North High Street for
Yeah.
Borman Hall. Is that one a part of this paving list? Or is that a separate project?
So that is, we are still trying to decide if it is a good idea to put that in this particular project, or based on WVU's performance and their timeline and some other feedback that we're getting, if we should put that into next spring. But yes, North High Street, WVU is currently reconstructing their steam tunnel.
Yeah,
on
they're
it.
behind, correct?
They have authorized overtime and are trying to finish before the semester starts. I think, imagine they're going to be doing it right as everybody's showing up to move in. So, you know, not sure about y'all, but having a giant construction project with a big hole open in the middle of the Mountain Lair and Frat Hill,
That's bad.
That'll be fun on welcome
Yeah.
weekend.
How about after graduation in the spring?
certainly.
Ready up to tee up.
Yeah, right. Or even during winter break, right? If we have good weather, or during spring break if we have good weather. Right, there's lots of things we can do. So we're still making last minute decisions about this. But North High Street, you can see, is on this proposed candidates. Fife Street, Wells Street, Mansion Street. A lot of these, right, we can pick and choose from many streets that need addressing, need some work on them. We have a decent amount of deferred maintenance needs, and certainly citizen requests and reminders of the condition of the street do affect us. They do not fall on deaf ears. And so a lot of these streets you might have heard complaints about over time. And we do have, some in every ward except Jenny. I apologize, there's no current proposal in Fourth Ward. We did a bunch of work in Fourth Ward over the past couple of years, and so I hope you and our current, our neighbors, right, will feel rest assured that we are not ignoring you, but we did put a,
Kenmore will happen sometime?
Kenmore will happen after MUB replaces the water line. which they told us, there are several streets, Pennsylvania was one of them, that they requested that we delay over the years from when we were trying to follow our previous paving list.
Is Kenmore part of the Lower Pompano Run work that MUB's doing?
No.
It's not tied in with that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, good question, but
It goes, it hits Riverview
It stops.
behind Krebs.
you
Okay,
can
it stops
see,
before
yeah,
Kenmore.
Kenmore over here, lots of blue in this neighborhood. We did a big blitz a couple years ago. These streets
All the
haven't-
paving we receive, we appreciate.
Yeah.
No complaints.
No, definitely, yeah, but yeah, you can see, so Cambridge and Elmhurst here, they also haven't been touched. They are currently Portland cement concrete fully, they don't have any asphalt overlay on them. And yes, but yes, MUB has informed us that they would like to replace the water line at some point, and they have not committed to when they're going to do that. We've delayed, I believe, 3 years on this at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are.
It just has a lot of patches, that's all.
It's pretty much fair. I would say that.
I
At least from a
appreciate that
surface
they're no
standpoint.
longer tearing up freshly paved streets, which we did have an issue with several times. But
they're still doing
when
it.
it's
you know?
when it's on, well, not on purpose, not planned.
Yes.
We're trying to coordinate better.
We are coordinating better, but if they need a project on a street that we are really itching to pave, maybe they need to help prioritize.
Yeah, they've certainly been requesting these lists further and further in advance, and it's kind of come up against our kind of the age of the assessment, right? And so this assessment was not quite ready in advanced time enough for us to give them, a 5-year capital plan. And it's really an iterative process going back and forth, right? Trying to.
Is that what will happen, though? Is a 5-year plan will happen?
We are definitely, intending to finalize that 2024, 2025 assessment and have a capital plan to present, yes, I'm not sure if you're going to like what I had to say with the $4 to $5 million a year.
And knowing that that's always subject to
Yeah.
a MUB change or a change in
Right.
priority, or
Funding.
that it's not a promise, it's a plan?
Yes.
But, I mean, in the spring, there was a, pretty publicized assessment of roads in the state of West Virginia where Morgantown was rated the worst roads in the state, right? So, I get that you don't,
State road assessment.
and fair enough, right? Fair enough. We all know that is a truism. But other municipalities have state roads in them too, as well. But if $4 to $5 million is too much, what do we feel like the right number is? Because right now we're spending about $1 million a year, right? So,
Between $1 million and $1.5 million.
That's on contracted annual paving services, and then, of course, fortunately, we're able to get competitive dollars to help us reconstruct certain larger projects and work with the state and WVU and, of course, MUB and other folks to do things. But yeah,
well, and regardless of any of that, I mean, I think you guys are doing the right thing by putting together a multi-year capital plan that, that reacts to the reality of the infrastructure that we have.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, and trying to do it on a regular basis, right? A lot can change in 5 years, certainly, a lot can certainly change in 10 years, which is really when we began our most recent, right? The user fee was passed about 10 years ago, and we really we paved aggressively a couple years before that in anticipation of those additional funds, right? Trying to catch up on some of this deferred maintenance. But, yeah, you know, another thing that will help is we are slowly, and certainly you've run across the state's project of upgrading systematically the curb ramps, right? Ideally, we don't do that over and over again. The concrete should last, you know, at least 25, maybe 50 years. Yeah, sometimes we make mistakes, sometimes the state makes mistakes on the accessibility, right, of them, and that's when we have to rip them out and do them again. But ideally, or I guess theoretically, we will finish the curb ramps at some point. We're about halfway done with them, and that will save, at this point, about 50% of our total project cost. The curb ramps are expensive. Each one of those things, the state is now paying about $7,000 for. We can, you know, overlay a standard neighborhood city street for about, you know, the entire street, right, for somewhere between like 7 and 15,000. So it's, yeah, if we have 4 or maybe 8 of those on an intersection, depending on the design, it gets expensive real quick. This Euclid and Jackson Avenue, if we ultimately get this done in this project, it will unlock the rest of the, you know, our ability to maintain Lower South Park. There are 30 ramps or so on this stretch, right? So it's a complicated project. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it done this year. I'm going to try. I know that these people have been, this whole neighborhood has been dealing with frustrations for quite some time. Sorry, Jody. But yes, it's on our list, and we should get it done soon. Maybe just curb ramps this year, and then paving next year. We have curb ramps to catch up on too from last year. And so that includes a lot of curb ramps in the Lower Greenmont area, and a decent number of ramps here in, say, Old Saberton area, along the Lestravia and Lyndhurst corridors. But yeah, happy, you know, again, thank you so much for having me here. Love talking about this stuff. And
So can you tell us a little bit about mobilizing and why it's better to be, to have streets that are kind of grouped together at different times compared to if we try to do one street or 2 streets in each ward?
yeah, thanks for the question. So I probably taking too much time.
In the 7th ward, it looks like there's some grouping. I just was.
Yeah. So you can see this square here, right? Lower Greenmont area.
Yeah.
That was one of our focused areas, one of 3 areas that we did last year. And so we did basically everything else that we needed to get done in Lower Greenmont. We also did the same here in what I call that Old Saberton area. And then we, again, did the same over here. That looks like it's incorrectly coded. And so we only had 3 areas where the contractor had to like set up and do some operations. And we heard resoundingly, of course, that the contractors found that a lot easier to manage. We found it easier to oversee, right? And the public in general, right, appreciates not a lot of mobilization across the whole city. This project here that we have in front of you is a little bit sort of back. It's kind of halfway in between. It's a little bit back to where we used to be. So we have, you know, Hartfield Road over here. It's not really close to anything else that we own, so we got to do it at some point.
But like in the 7th ward, it looks like you have Schubert, Nueve.
Yep, absolutely.
Westview, Southern Place.
Yep. Yeah, so, you know, we were over here before. We did Anderson and Dogwood and Eastern and
So all the long streets you did
Lakeland,
before.
and yeah, lastly we did some of these, and people were really sad that we didn't do some of these, but we're coming back. Yeah, we try to, even if a street is not necessarily next in line and say that capital plan, if we're going to go ahead and mobilize there, we can save a lot in terms of that mobilization cost.
Especially all those little short streets?
Absolutely.
If you did them
All
one
the
at a time over
cul-de-sacs,
time, it would be
yeah.
awful.
Yeah, good rule of thumb would be $5,000 just to have them show up in a new place, right? Maybe 10 at this point. And so not a lot in terms of $1.5 million project, but
That's all.
Few more
yeah, when you do
streets.
that 20 times or, versus 3 times, you can really, save and stretch the dollar. Our friends over here will be happy to know that Pennsylvania is on this proposed list. We were trying to do it last year. We actually did this street right here, Hackney, and as we were compacting the asphalt, a water line broke and a giant bubble of asphalt came up. It's wild to see the street doing this. It's actually held up pretty well for that. But yes, that happened in 3 locations last year.
So is the water line under that street, or,
Yeah, the water line was like probably 4 inches below the street
I mean, is it
surface.
under Pennsylvania?
That was completely replaced, yeah.
So that's why it's so ready to go.
It is ready to go. We also, of course, are putting together other projects in this area, and so this is still preliminary. Even if it's not in this particular project, it is coming up very soon. And it may include other ADA upgrades and other ideas for how to help further the city's other, intersecting goals down there in Lower Greenmont. But yes, we have not forgotten about you. We're very sorry about the condition of the roadway. Yes. Yep. So, other questions, or want me to zoom anywhere or look at any data?
So, just on the north, wanted to get back to North High Street and North Street.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're going to wait till springtime to pave, my concern is the bricks that are coming out as you drive over them. I know right now any emergency vehicles can use that road, so we use them at night. And the bricks are literally coming up as we're driving.
Mm-hmm.
And so would that be a temporary pave? Or
So
to
yeah, North High
secure some of
Street,
those?
sorry, yeah, when we touch it, we intend to completely reconstruct the entire surface.
That's what I figured. yeah.
Yes, and so that would be removing the rest of the brick. We love the brick, but that street's too far gone.
Yeah.
And it's also extremely difficult for winter maintenance. And so that, we don't tend to completely reconstruct lots of streets, but that's one that we do intend to. But yes, that's where I was talking, starting that project now during the middle of the fall semester. We might have a contractor that's excited to do that, but I'm sure many would not, and still working with WVU on.
And if we don't do it, it'll be stabilized.
So how come WVU doesn't? Do we collaborate with WVU on some of these paving projects that are literally in front of dormitories, and this is clearly Frat Road, Borman Hall? and
Certainly,
Mount
so
Mary.
yeah, WVU is taking this opportunity to, they accelerated a project that was deferred,
Okay.
that steam tunnel there, that is all along the sidewalk here. Apologize that I use the 2023 to 2025 wards, not the 2025 and 2027 wards. I'll fix that before we share it. They're the same geometry, just different numbers, I think. Yeah, this entire sidewalk along Borman Hall there is also a steam tunnel with a very sensitive utility duct there, thousands of degrees and thousands of PSI, asbestos everywhere and stuff, and crumbling walls. So they accelerated that project in anticipation of us reconstructing North High Street.
Gotcha.
And they are replacing the entire sidewalk along that stretch. MUB and the gas company also replaced stormwater and water on the street and completely replaced all of the gas and all of the services. So this is an excellent collaborative project. Unfortunately, just WVU needed the entire construction window to do their part of it. And so we might have one more hard winter where bricks are
Yeah.
popping out,
Yeah.
but hopefully we'll stabilize it enough to where that's not happening. But yes, yeah. And one of the things, other projects, we're stockpiling these brick in White Park to be used as part of the trail surface where we have to cross certain parts of, wetlands and stuff. And so a little bit of adaptive reuse for you there. Excited about that project.
They're so loose that they're easy to reclaim?
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. You can get a big enough machine to just scoop up any
Yeah.
And not
street.
break.
They're amazing streets. It's a good technology. I wish we could use it more often to reconstruct some around the city, but don't really have a lot of expertise here on a commercial contractor level, or at least that's
That has
affordable
quite
for
the
us.
interesting history too, that road.
North High Street?
Yeah, we look back at the history. Some of those bricks, I think, date back to 1897, maybe?
Sure.
Some of the bricks actually are stamped 1907.
Nice.
Yeah, so.
Next time one pops out, you better keep it.
Oh, we do. We've got a bunch. So, yeah, we've been saving them. But they say Fairmont on them, not Morgantown. So they all say Fairmont.
Yeah, Fairmont bricks were used quite prevalently in Morgantown.
Was that in the 18th century? That had to be in the lead,
No,
yeah.
no, it would have been 19th century, but yeah, early 1900s.
Yeah, it goes back a long way.
Drew, we're obviously happy to be liaisons to the constituents, but how much, and this is likely due to my lack of experience, but how much of the decision-making process does the public have access to? This is a conversation I'd maybe love to have with both of you one-on-one, or and talk with communications as well. I'm just curious what is available for us to point to when constituents do come with concerns and questions about why not my street, why this street, that kind of thing, so that we could point them to this like very clear decision-making process that you guys have created.
Yeah, so I guess your question, I initially thought you were asking how much of the process is open to direct citizen input and requests. But it sounded like you ended with how much of this is detailed in a way that we can share with constituents.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm curious about.
Okay, cool, yeah. So the first question, which you didn't ask, but I will answer, is
Sure.
ideally zero, right?
Right,
Modern cities, they don't tend to do things based on citizen requests, right? It should be the systematic thing, right? But again, as I say, we're not deaf to the concerns of the city, and we're not, the systematic analysis is not perfect, right? It can miss things. But that 2024-2025 pavement assessment will be made fully public, and you all will have a copy of that, and we will host it on the website. The 2017 assessment may not have been super publicized. Okay, happy to provide you all with a copy of that one too. They're both very dry, but yeah, happy to provide those to you all.
Which means no one knows your streets as well as you do when they come and assess. I mean, it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I know a lot about Morgantown streets at this point. I've driven literally every single street, every single one of them, and gathered. I collected all of the information that was used to do this most recent analysis. Nobody else. And so, been literally all over these streets. But yes, some of them only once or twice at this point, right? And so certainly we can always learn more from constituents about the intricacies of their own experiences and their own observations, about how the drainage works, right? Or, the traffic calming, right? The stressful experiences that they have on their streets. Other questions?
Anyone else have anything for Mr. Gallo? No? Seeing no other questions or discussion, do we have consensus to move the paving list forward for bidding process? Great. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you all.
Appreciate your thorough explanation as always.
I have an agenda question related to this while engineering is here. So our streetlights seem to be converting over to LED.
Yes.
Is that something that we could have at some point a presentation on? Would that be worth it to have a presentation on what the plan is and have someone come and talk about that? Or how do we?
We can talk to Mon Power. We've met with Mon Power. It's something the city's been requesting Mon Power to do for a while, is to come up with a plan to replace all the lights. And so we met with them last year.
It just looks like some of them are being replaced, so then people ask.
Yeah,
So
and
then I'm
they
going,
are,
well,
and
is
that's-
there a plan for that, or is that just random, that one's broken and so they just put in an LED?
And that's the way it is now. They don't have the ability to go out there and do a mass replacement, and so they are doing them, one at a time. And the goal is to get them all done by the end of 2026. So, but yeah, we've met with them, and we kind of were hoping that we could do a mass replacement, but inventory, manpower, things like that didn't allow them to do it. So as we request light to be replaced, we request them to be replaced with an LED, and so you'll notice that there'll be more and more and more, because there are several out and we keep requesting them.
And if your street light is out, you can look
Yeah.
at the metal tag on the pole and submit that through.
There are circle on some of them, and with a number, or they're metal strips, and it'll be RO dash something or P4 dash something.
If at any time there seems like there's a plan, we'd probably all love to see it, but if there isn't exactly a plan, then
That's the
we don't
plan,
need to
really, is to
bother
replace
anyone about it.
as they go, is the plan.
But the end of 2026, that's
Yeah.
pretty ambitious.
And they are working with other municipalities as well, too. I think they are doing one municipality as a test, as, complete replacement, but there are other ones that they're doing as piecemeal, kind of the same as we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I believe they asked us to, ideally limit it to
Yeah.
40 or 50
Yeah.
every month or so, or
Yeah, their
Oh,
supplies are
interesting.
limited.
more than 2,000 streetlights in the city.
That will bring us to our next item for discussion, an ordinance authorizing a supplemental agreement to real estate contract number DTFAEA-06-L-00064 with the Federal Aviation Administration.
Thank you, Mayor. I will brief on this item. Director Vabral is unable to be with us today, but we did want to move this forward to you all for the first presentation. It is a pretty routine standard. I guess it only happens once every 20 years, so I don't know if it's standard, but as far as operations for the airport goes, it's an item that we felt we could continue to move forward. Certainly, we have built in enough of a timeline that if there are a lot of questions that come up upon Director Vrabal's return at the next meeting, we have time to hear this 2 more times if needed. So this item is an extension or a supplemental agreement with the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, and it is a lease agreement related to our navigational aid system. So this current agreement expires in September 2025. The current agreement was a 20-year agreement, and this will be another 20-year agreement going out to 2045. The agreement is substantially similar with some minor changes related to some security clearance, and we're constantly seeing those items evolve over time, so that doesn't surprise us that we need to make sure that we're keeping up in that area. So this agreement allows the FAA to use our airport facility to install and maintain navigational aid systems. That's used by both the air traffic control system, those who use the airspace, those who use our airport as well. This also allows us to tie into the national airspace system so that we're able to communicate and make sure things are operated in a safe manner. The FAA provides and maintains the materials related to the system, so that's not a cost to the city for this system. This is just a lease agreement for them to have it at the airport. So staff is recommending that we renew or extend this agreement.
Well, Director Vrabel's not here, so we may wish to hold questions for him, but if there's anything that you have for the city manager.
Sounds like a key component and something that we would like to re-up for.
Seems like navigation's important.
Yeah, and I don't have any questions.
So we can move this forward to our August agenda, and Director Vrabel will be here then.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
That is our last item of business for the evening. If there's nothing else for the good of the whole, we
Move to adjourn?
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Yes. We will consider ourselves adjourned. 7